I was in a good mood. I really, really was. Had a wonderful weekend, had a wonderful last week of vacation, had a lot of good things going on in my life. Looking forward to talking about a lot of sports. Looking forward to talking to the great Oscar De La Hoya, particularly with that Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr. fight coming up this weekend. And then the governor of Florida made news yet again, just changing my whole freaking mood. Oh, well, I'm here for it, as always. The Stephen A. Smith Show, coming your way right now. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you over the digital airwaves of YouTube, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, as I love to do. Vastly approaching 250,000 subscribers. I'm at 249 plus as we speak. Thank y'all so much for the support. As always, I want to give thanks to our studio sponsor, FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel is the official sports betting company of the Stephen A. Smith Show. I will get into a lot of sports. I've got the running backs in the NFL to talk about. Got a little basketball stuff to talk about because the Ringer came out with about their top 25 players. I got a problem with that list. I'll get into all of that. Of course, the great Oscar De La Hoya, the former welterweight and junior middleweight champion of the world, now an exceptional promoter for Golden Boy Promotions, the owner, and obviously a elite promoter. Obviously, he's got a new documentary, a two-part documentary coming out, debuting tonight. So I'm looking forward to talking to Oscar De La Hoya in just a few minutes. But before I get into any of that, I have to veer left. And I have to veer left because I'm quite disturbed as I sit here. And I'm trying to keep my cool because, I just don't feel like, I really don't feel like cussing people out and really calling them out of their names and going the hell off. But I'm pretty pissed off right now as we speak. And I just want to emphasize, and I want to make sure to remind everybody, this is my podcast, even though my day job is working for ESPN and doing First Take on ESPN. I want to make sure that everybody understands that the words, the verbiage coming out of my mouth over the next few minutes are not the responsibility of that network. I own and operate this podcast. This is mine. I own it. ESPN has nothing to do with this. This is what I own and operate. I'm the boss of this podcast, and anything that transpires as it pertains to this podcast is solely my responsibility. It's on my shoulders. So I just want to throw out that caveat because of the things that I'm about to say. And again, I don't know really what's going to come out of my mouth. So thank God I'm not over FCC airways as we speak. The governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, has made news for several reasons. And Jay, my producer, could you please do me a favor, please, and throw back up that number, scroll back down, because I want to make sure everybody knows. If you got questions, ask them in the YouTube chat, and I'll get to them at the end of the show. You can also call me on the SAS hotline, the Stephen A. Smith hotline at 646-727-0769. It's 646-SAS-0769. Back to Ron DeSantis. It's made news for a lot of reasons. Primarily because he is a governor of Florida that was deemed to be incredibly popular, winning re-election by over 19%. He is the presidential candidate that if it were not for Trump, he would be the front runner. But because Donald Trump has been ahead by double digits for quite some time, he's been running at number 2. He's recently made news because of changes in his staff. And obviously he's been at war with quite a few people, including Walt Disney, along with various others. As the noted conservative commentator George Will recently said about Ron DeSantis, every time you turn around, he's in a fight with somebody over something. And recently he got into beef with African Americans because he wanted to revamp what African Americans and what students in public schools were being taught as it pertains to African American history. And as of recently, we just learned that Ron DeSantis, part of the things that he was pushing for, came to light, and essentially it was about teaching folks that there were benefits that African Americans received while being enslaved. I want to preface my comments by reminding y'all of what slavery is. It's indentured servitude. It's forced labor. It's being held and imprisoned essentially against your will for the benefit of those who have enslaved you, which in the case of African Americans, black people, would be white America. Dr. Umar Johnson, who regardless of his critique of me from time to time, is somebody whose knowledge and intellect I highly respect. And I respect him as my brother. I saw him on social media recently, arguing on a television network and making what I found to be a very, very profound argument that black folks in this country are not immigrants. We didn't come here voluntarily. We were imported. And I think that's apropos when talking about this subject in regards to this governor who seemingly with every passing day reveals himself to be a disgrace to humanity. And I don't make that statement lightly. I'm a registered independent. I am not sold on a lot of things in regards to the Democratic Party, and I'm unapologetic about that. I've been outspoken about Trump, not because of his policies, but because of his behavior, because I think that the presidency is a statesmanship, a position of statesmanship, and you have to know how to act and conduct yourself, and you can't walk around scaring half the nation, if not the world. And I just don't like the way he's conducted himself, like a petulant child, and the fact that he's been lying about losing the election. And years before he lost the election, he said that he wouldn't concede defeat because he's always claiming that stuff is rigged, no matter what he's accused of. But Ron DeSantis clearly has wanted to rival Trump, clearly has wanted to ingratiate himself with the quote-unquote MAGA Republicans out there, and he seems to be doing, or exerting strenuous effort in order to do so. And to come up with a situation, a law that was passed by a board where folks would be taught that there were benefits to being enslaved is about as egregious and as offensive as it gets. There is no excuse for this at all. There's rationale behind it, and I'll get into that in a second. But there's no excuse for somebody who wants to be the president of the United States, the president to all people, to sit up there and look at a race of people and to ever think that there's anything that you can say that would make folks believe that there were benefits to being enslaved. Before I go any further, Ron DeSantis was on the campaign trail, and he was in Utah, surrounded by a bunch of people who look like him, certainly none of us as black people, but surrounded by others, sharing his hue and pigmentation, of course. And when addressed and broached about the question in regards to benefits to slavery being taught in the schools of Florida, here's what Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida had to say in response to that question by some reporter.
Well, you should talk to them about it. I mean, I didn't do it, and I wasn't involved in it. But I think what they're doing is I think that they're probably going to show some of the folks that eventually parlayed, being a blacksmith into doing things later in life. But the reality is all of that is rooted in whatever is factual. They listed everything out. And if you have any questions about it, just ask the Department of Education. You can talk about those folks. But, I mean, these were scholars who put that together. It was not anything that was done politically.
Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that this is the same governor that put in the law to Stop Woke Act, which prohibits workplace training or school instruction that teaches that individuals are inherently racist, sexist, or oppressive, whether consciously or subconsciously. I can understand somebody fighting that, even if they're wrong. I can even understand him fighting the notion that folks bear personal responsibility for and must feel guilt, anguish, or other forms of psychological distress over actions committed in the past by members of the same race, gender, or national origin. There's plenty of white folks that walk around and saying, I wasn't born at that time. I didn't do that. I didn't do what my ancestors did. Why y'all holding me accountable? I understand that thinking, although some would disagree because of the advantages that white males have had in this country. Nevertheless, you get that. Where you should be appalled is at this part about the Stop Woke Act that Ron DeSantis signed into law. That people are privileged or oppressed based on race, gender, or national origin. How could you possibly deny that in the United States of America? How could you possibly deny that? Ron DeSantis just saw him on camera talking about how, you know what, maybe they're teaching them, while you were enslaved, you learned how to be a blacksmith. What do you mean learned? What did you teach black people? Black people were someplace else. Building pyramids. Other buildings. Being blacksmith. Running farms. It's amazing that now there are laws that are being put in place about what's being taught when once upon a time, Ron DeSantis, this country, right here in this country, it was against the law for blacks to be allowed to read and write. You spent centuries blocking their ability to read and write. You wanted them to be ignorant and oblivious. You wanted us to be ignorant and oblivious to our own history. And you made it unlawful. And what would happen to people who broke the law over such things like reading and writing and what have you in the United States of America as black people? What did you do? You hung them. You burned them alive. You cooked them. Flat out, cold-blooded murder. When black folks were being hung, it was like a damn town hall meeting. Like some family gathering or a picnic or what have you, at the expense of black lives literally being taken from us. Because of rules and regulations your ancestors put into place. Mr. Yale graduate who taught history after graduating from Yale. You know this. But you want folks not to ever learn about that history. You don't want that being taught in our schools. And if it is going to be taught in our schools, let's find the positive. Let me do as my man, my big brother, Joe Madison, the Black Eagle on Sirius XM, channel 126, 6 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every weekday. Let me use his phrase. Let me steal from him. Let me take it where the goats can get it. Would you do this to Jewish folks? Would you dare sign into law? Would you dare have the Board of Education in your state do something that in any way camouflages, throw a cloth over, or completely distances the Jewish community from their history? Would you do that? We both know you wouldn't. We both know you wouldn't. But without getting into it too heavily, because I know I can stay on this subject for days, and I'm not going anywhere. What I would say to you, Ron DeSantis and his cabinet, his campaign and his cabinet, all of y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. You should all be ashamed of yourselves for being a part of this. For this to even be a subject that's open for debate in the year 2023 is shameful. But I know why you're doing it. I know why you're doing it, Ron DeSantis. But before I tell you why, before I tell this audience why you're doing it, what I want to do is I want to call out a colleague, somebody whose show that I've been on a couple of times, somebody who I respect, but I find myself ashamed of for him even broaching the subject in this platform. Don't even know if I'd speak to him again. It would happen to be Jesse Waters of Fox News. I respect his candor. I respect his knowledge. I'm not here to disrespect him. I'm here to say, damn, how insensitive can you be? What the hell am I talking about? See for yourself.
No one is arguing slaves benefited from slavery. No one is saying that. It's not true. They're teaching how black people developed skills during slavery in some instances that could be applied for their own personal benefit.
What the hell do you mean, Jesse? Nobody is teaching the benefits of slavery. What they're doing is teaching how blacks ultimately learned to trade while enslaved that ultimately benefited them down the road. Is that not double talking? Come on, Jesse, you better than that, bro. You better than that. And I'm not coming on Fox News to talk to you about this. You said it on your platform, I'm going to say it on mine. Come on, bro. It's the same thing. Nobody is teaching the benefits of slavery. They're simply teaching how you acquired this skill while enslaved that ultimately benefited you later on down the road. Really? Why even try to find a positive out of something so egregious, something so insidious, where millions of lives were lost? Our ancestors jumped into the ocean, maybe shark-infested waters, just to avoid being enslaved. Murders, rape, maiming, torture, all of these things happen. Why are we talking about a subject like that and saying, let's highlight some of the benefits? Why? Why? Why would you do that? Could it be because you're not black and you have no idea of the historical, subliminal, emotional, spiritual, soulful impact it's had on a race of people? Why even bring it up? Why are we talking about this? I'll tell you why. You know, a few months ago, I was on this show, right here on my show. And I made it a point to point out how the white population in America is dissipating before our very eyes. That's why you see Trump appealing to his base. That's why you see DeSantis trying to appeal to that base, because they understand that the white population wants 87%, wants 84%, wants 80%, then 79%. Now it's all the way down to 58.9% according to the last numbers that I saw. Black population still hovering around 13%. Hispanic population is elevating over 19% and projected to be at about 30% by the year 2030. So as the white populace dwindles, you've got folks worried about maintaining political control. And they're using the American people as pawns to pull off your agenda. I told y'all DeSantis taught history. He knows better. But you know what this is also about? In my humble opinion, the governor of Florida wants to blunt the negative effects of slavery so he can relieve a younger generation of possible guilt. Because you see, that guilt is what led to folks in droves going to support Obama in 2008 and then again in 2012. That guilt assisted in Clinton becoming the president in 92 and then again in 96. And obviously the numbers are a bit more challenging in this day and age. So what do you want to do? You want to make sure you maintain political control. And how do you do that? By pointing out we're tired of being blamed and reminded of what we've done. So let's just make sure the minds on the come up don't adopt the same mentality. It's the curriculum, y'all. You can't keep black folks out. So what do? You alter the subject matter. You start throwing question marks in there to assuage the concerns of a race of people that have felt pigeonholed and marginalized. And in the process of doing all of that, you know what you also do? You deny the truth. You gloss over it. Because far be it for you to look in the mirror and stare at yourself and fully embrace the iniquities of your actions. It also flies in the face of Brown versus Board of Education, 1954. Don't y'all remember that? The elimination of separate but equal. Y'all remember that? Joe Madison said this morning, Ron DeSantis is the modern day George Wallace. Segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. Showing up to block a school for a couple of African-American students that were going to desegregated school. They attacked education. What is DeSantis doing? Don't say gay. Stop woke act. This stuff. And people are falling for it hook, line, and sinker. I remember when I saw this guy, was it Jason Alden, the country music star? You saw how his song caused such a political backlash? Actually, the song was out since May. It wasn't until the video came out recently and we saw that it was in front of some building where a black man was lynched in 1927. That was the placement of the video. That it caused such an uproar. For those of you who haven't seen the lyrics or haven't listened to the song or whatever, here you go. Show those lyrics, please. Sucker punch somebody on a sidewalk, carjack an old lady at a red light, pull a gun on an owner of a liquor store. You think it's cool? Well, act like a fool if you like. Cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on a flag and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough. Well, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here, we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town. Got a gun that my granddad gave me. They say one day they're going to round up. Well, that shit might fly in the city. Good luck. Try that in a small town. Are you ready for this, y'all? I find nothing racist about those lyrics. Surprised you, didn't I? Nothing racist about those lyrics. Only when the video gets attached to it do you see what he's trying to say. See, I ain't no damn hypocrite. I see the lyrics that are spewed in other genres, whether it's rock and roll, hip hop, or whatever the case may be. If we don't say anything about them, we shouldn't be saying anything about Jason Alden's lyrics. The problem is, A, the whole Trump supporter thing, him showing up allegedly to some party in blackface, trying to look like Lil Wayne. There's racial undertones showing Black Lives Matter protest as opposed to protests at other places. I didn't see the insurrection on January 6, 2021 in that video. Maybe I missed it, but I didn't see it. What does that have to do with Ron DeSantis? It's simple. It's a race war taking place in our country. But believe it or not, it's not by us. It's not by black people. Black folks understand that we're behind the 8 ball. We understand that we got to do twice as good to get half as much most of the time. We understand the odds are stacked against us, and we've never had faith that it's going to fully change. The difference is, once upon a time, before the arrival of the MAGA Republicans and this kind of culture war we appear to be in, folks were willing to accept the iniquities of our history to some degree. Might not want it to pay reparations. Might not want it to be fair in the marketplace, in the job market. Might not want it to be fair when it came to own business. Oh, we can get money to buy a home, even though that's a struggle. We can get a loan to buy a home, even though that's a struggle. We can get money to buy a car. We can get money to buy that. But you want to start a business where you're able to build something from your own bootstraps and maximize your potential and ultimately get to a point where you don't need the system. That's always the toughest thing for black folks to get. We got that. We accepted that a long time ago. So what's happening now? It ain't black folks. What's going on now is you have a segment, not most, not all, but some in the white community on the fringes who feel victimized. That's why white folks was in the street weeks ago celebrating when the Supreme Court omitted race from the equation of college admissions consideration. Acting like there was a cause to celebrate because somehow, some way, the very people who committed iniquitous acts against a race of people and benefited for centuries because of it somehow were being victimized. There are white folks in this country that blame black folks, that blame Latinos. We need a wall. Put those walls up. Keep them out. Never looking at each other. And what you've done. And I never thought in my wildest dreams that Ron DeSantis would be the poster child for that. Like I said, I'm a registered independent. Once upon a time, I was hoping this man had a chance. I was actually rooting for him. Because I'm the dude that shows up. And I'm like, hey, I don't want to broadcast and be transparent in my support for one party or another. Make them work for it. Who's giving us the best plan? Who's going to better support our community? Who's going to do the right things? Don't give us lip service. Don't try to engage in demagoguery, pointing out how the other side is racist, the Republican Party, when, excuse me, it was Republicans that brought the Civil Rights Bill to the desk of Lyndon B. Johnson. It was the Dems who were opposing it. I'm one of those dudes. So I on being an independent thinker. Although there are various people that are far smarter than me, far more educated and knowledgeable, and listen to them. But I know what I'm seeing here. And what I'm seeing here is a governor from Florida that has said to one group of people who look like him, come with me, I got y'all. And has said to another group of people, black folks, y'all can kick rocks. That's what I'm seeing. And I'm seeing it. And I'm saying it for one reason and one reason only. Why even bring up a point to try and defend it? That's why I brought you up, Jesse Waters. Whether I agree or disagree, his knowledge, Jesse Waters is knowledgeable. He's earned his stripes. He's worked his way up the ranks throughout the years. He's got a damn good show. I've been on it a couple of times. I respect him. I don't respect this. Maybe you can find, hey, blacksmiths trained and, carpenters and this and that. Why in God's name would that matter when you're talking about slavery? And you know how vicious and awful slavery was to millions upon millions upon millions of people. 6 million Jewish folks reportedly died in the Holocaust. It's a hell of a lot more that lost their lives in slavery. And I ain't diminishing the Jewish plight by any means. They're my brothers too, and sisters. You would never do that when it came to them. Why would you do that when it comes to black folks and slavery? Y'all can answer that question for yourself. I'm sad today. I'm sad because of Ron DeSantis. I'm sad because of Jesse Waters. I'm sad for anybody who would even take time trying to defend this. Wasn't even necessary to bring up. And I got news for you, Ron DeSantis. You think this won't cost you in a general election. I know you don't care because you're thinking all I got to do is get past Trump. And if I do that, I can take out the Dems. You might be right. But I doubt it. Because either you'll lose the general election, assuming you win the nomination for the Republican Party, or you'll win, and this country will never come together under your stewardship, because it will believe emphatically, with evidence in their backdrop, that you don't give a damn about anybody from the black community. And if the Latinos feel the same way about you, considering the fact that you shipped migrants that weren't even in your state to places like Martha's Vineyard, using them as political pawns, you clearly don't give a damn about them either. Damn, sir. Damn. I was hopeful for you. Not anymore. I'll switch back to sports in just a minute. You're listening live. Stephen A. Smith Show. Be back in a minute.
Take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets, up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Talk about a great way to get into baseball, which, by the way, is more exciting than ever. Choose a team to win with a simple money line wager, or get a little more adventurous, like betting on a certain player who you think is going to be the first home run. That is how you get into every at-bat in the game, ladies and gentlemen. Trust me, I see what sports fans are doing. Betting on baseball is all the rage right now. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you can get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So, sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/SAS to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/SAS. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball.
21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as now withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, and Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369 in New York. 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia.
Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on YouTube, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, which continues to grow and grow and grow. I'll probably be at 250,000 subscribers in 5 months' time in just a hour or so. So thank you for your love, support, and everything in between. Really, really appreciate it. By the way, continue to show that love and support. Make sure to like and follow the Stephen A. Smith Show on YouTube. Click the bell to get notified of all our new content. Thank you so much. Let me get to sports for a quick second because I got Oscar De La Hoya coming up. Golden Boy Promotions. Obviously, we've got Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr. coming up this Saturday night in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'll be there. I can't miss this one. This is something special. I can't wait. A story that's been percolating in the world of sports has been running backs. Let me get right to it. Running backs are getting screwed over by the National Football League. Now, I don't say the National Football League is in the league office. I'm talking about the league itself. That means the league in concert with the Players Association who've negotiated this deal and what have you. And for those of you who don't understand, here's what's going on. So if you're a running back, it doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how talented you are. It doesn't matter how productive you've been. At some point in time, what the National Football League does is look at your birth certificate and they say, hell, you're 27, 28 years old. That ain't going to work for us. And so because of that, you're marginalized and essentially pushed out, not necessarily of a job, but from earning the level of pay that other people at their respective positions earn in the National Football League. What makes it even worse is that, let's take, for example, Saquon Barkley of the New York Giants or Josh Jacobs for the Las Vegas Raiders, who are both looking for new deals. Neither was able to reach a long-term deal with their respective franchises, the Giants and the Raiders, and as a result, they have a choice. They could sign the franchise tag. They could be franchised by their team, all right, sign for $10 million when they think they're worth about $15 or $16 a year, sign for $10,091,000. And they signed those deals, and it's on a one-year franchise tender. They're looking for long-term security. So you sign a deal and you get most people, particularly quarterbacks, you sign a deal and you know what? It's for $200 million and maybe $150 is guaranteed, right? You get hurt year one, but the guaranteed portion of those dollars still come to you, although the incentives may not. Okay? Because you have a lengthier deal. But in the case of being franchise tagged, particularly in the case of a running back, you sign this one deal. What if Saquon Barkley goes out there and he gets hurt? He's got no money guaranteed to him next season or the season beyond that. And worse, not only can the Giants or the Raiders in Jacobs' case, respectively, literally franchise tag them this year, but they also have the right to franchise tag them next year. That's jacked up. That's not fair. And so their recourse is to sit out the season. Or you can sit out all the training camp and show up once the regular season begins. You don't start losing money until the regular season begins. But Saquon Barkley is contemplating sitting out and all of this other stuff. It's jacked up. And let me give you a perfect example. So we've got situations here, right? For example, 7 of the top 9 players in scrimmage yards last season were running backs. 7 of the top 9 players who led their teams in yards from scrimmage were running backs. 8 of the top 11 touchdown scorers in the National Football League last season were running backs. Derrick Henry. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a man that is universally recognized as arguably the best in the game. He has been nothing short of sensational in his time as a Tennessee Titan. We see quarterbacks get paid $200 million. Deshaun Watson got $230 million. We see defensive players making some money. Derrick Henry has made a grand total of $46 million in 7 NFL seasons. Here's a guy who's rushed for 8,335 yards and has scored a total of 81 career touchdowns. And I'm just looking further at some of these notes here. And I'm seeing Joe Mixon, $32.7 million over 6 years. Dalvin Cook, $32 million over 6 years. Kareem Hunt, $17 million over 6 years. Ladies and gentlemen, this is in a league that's giving out $100 million contracts, $200 million contracts. I stand with the National Football League running backs. And here's my suggestion. If they wanted to do right by these guys, if the NFL and the NFLPA want to do right by these guys, very, very simple. You know what you could do? At least take away the franchise tag. At least one of them. How about making sure that they could come into the league earlier so they could start earning money at an earlier age as opposed to being restricted by the same limitations in terms of entering the NFL that other players at different positions are allowed to come into the league. If guys got to play 3 years in college before coming into the NFL? How about allowing a running back to play one? Letting them come in the league 2 years earlier so they can start making their money 2 years earlier. So you can't look at them when they're 27 or 28 years of age. Or so you can look at them at that particular moment in time and say, okay, that's fine. Where other guys get to be in their 30s before they're considered over the hill. You're labeling guys over the hill in their late 20s, even though they're showing a level of productivity. It ain't right. It ain't right. Let me move on real quick. The Ringer comes out with top 25 NBA players. I saw the list. Put the list up, Jay, please. Nikola Jokic is number 1, no problem. Steph Curry, number 2, no problem. Giannis Antetokounmpo, number 3, no problem. Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic, no problem. I got a problem at number 8 with Kawhi Leonard because, damn it, isn't showing up to work a requirement? I know what a star he is, a superstar he is when he's on the court. But talk about some brother that missed games. Mr. Load Management, I don't know about that. 8 is questionable because of Kawhi Leonard's availability, nothing else. Number 9, Jimmy Butler. Damn. I love my brother, Jimmy Butler. I really do. Great player. Dog, in a good way. But number 9, ahead of Devin Booker. Ooh, I can't do that. Ahead of Anthony Davis. No, who needs to be available for more games himself. But no, I can't do that. Ahead of LeBron James. Ladies and gentlemen, let's be real. LeBron James has to be in your top 5. Can we stop? As great as I think Kevin Durant is, and as much as I praised him over all of these years, because I think he is elite and he is special, the fact is his rep done took a hit now. I got to put LeBron up there. I got to put LeBron up ahead of Joel Embiid. I saw Joel Embiid in Game 7. I ain't like what I saw. Joel Embiid ain't never been to a conference finals, let alone NBA finals. No. I can't put LeBron ahead of him. No. I mean, I can't put him ahead of LeBron. LeBron's got to be in your top 5. So 10, 11, and 12 to me belongs ahead of Jimmy Butler. And respectfully, I put Damian Lillard ahead of Jimmy Butler. Because if Damian Lillard went to Miami, which is his wish, we all know he would be their number 1 option, not Jimmy Butler. Let's stop it. Let's stop that right now. That's my issue with this list. Ja Morant, 18. There's not 18 players in the NBA better than Ja Morant. Come on, y'all. That's the superstar. Now, stop. But we'll revisit this list at a later date because right now, I have to play an interview for you. I spoke to him earlier. He's got a 2-part docuseries coming out. Golden Boy documentary premieres July 24th. That is today. Oscar De La Hoya gets candid, especially with your boy, Stephen A. Here's myself with the one and only Oscar De La Hoya.
This next man needs no introduction if you know anything about the sport of boxing, if you know anything about the world of sports, period. I mean, he's not a basketball player, but he's got a statue outside of Staples Center for crying out loud, or what was formerly called the Staples Center. He's a former 11-time world champion, 6 different weight classes, who started Golden Boy Promotions in the year 2002. You didn't see boxers starting their own promotion company, but this brother did it, and he's still doing it in a big way. The Golden Boy himself, Oscar De La Hoya. What's going on, big time? How are you, man? How's everything?
All good, my man. Thank you for having me. Feeling great. You know, it's funny you tell me about the Golden Boy Promotions and starting in 2002. We're still going strong, man, after so many years, so I'm blessed.
Man, I got to admit to you, man, when you first started it out, I mean, if anybody could pull it off, you could, because I've never seen a boxer in history that had such a pristine image like you do. You were young, had the Golden Boy look, was wearing suits when you were 17, 18 years old. I said, damn, I mean, he was Tom Ford before we knew about Tom Ford, for crying out loud. I had to give it to you. But I really want to talk to you about this 2-part documentary, The Golden Boy, that's coming out Monday, July 24th. HBO, can't wait to see it. What are we going to learn about Oscar De La Hoya that we haven't already learned?
I mean, look, you know about the golden boy, you know about the smile, you know about the golden looks, you know about everything that I touch turns to gold, but you don't know about the dark side. You don't know about stuff that I never talked about, that I was always embarrassed to reveal. This is a raw, real, and in your face type of documentary. Nobody, and I guarantee you, nobody in my stature has ever come out and spoken like this the way we did it with HDL.
And what made you decide to do it now? It's the year 2023. You've been retired from the sport for a while, but obviously still incredibly relevant because you've had very elite fighters in your stable, and we know that. But what made you decide to do it in the year 2023?
It was time to free myself. It was time to free myself from the golden boy, from that image that people painted of me many years ago. It's a lot of pressure, Stephen. What I lived, what I faced in my life. I must have been depressed 10 times over. I must have had mental health issues over and over and over again. But that boxing ring was my escape. The boxing ring was a place where I can be happy and just get away from the world. People are going to find out what type of relationship I had with my mother. You got to remember, I dedicated the gold medal to her in 1992. But did I?
Right.
That's what you're going to find out. Was it all a lie? That's what you're going to find out in the documentary. And then some.
When you allude, as you just did, to life outside the ring, sort of, I always get the impression, because I've had the pleasure of meeting you and knowing you a little bit over the years, and you and I have always been cool. You've always been good to me, and I love you for it, and you've always been a treasure to the sport of boxing. But I often wonder, when you talk about life outside the ring, I'm thinking about an Oscar De La Hoya that may have felt imprisoned because you had to have that perfect image. Give some kind of depiction or description of what life was like for Oscar De La Hoya outside the ring during his professional career, especially more so than his post-career.
Right. Well, during my professional career, I was being pulled left and right from everyone, all over the world. You know, we didn't have social media back then. But I had the pressure from my family, taking care of everybody. My father, I had the pressure of my dying mother, who her wish was for her son to become the Olympic gold medalist. And so now I'm convinced that I'm doing it for her. So if you saw me fight every single fight professionally, I would look up to the sky and get her last blessing. But you know, that weight on my heart, that weight on my shoulder, all I can think about was, man, you would beat me up every single day as a kid. So my life was a double-edged sword. My life was so confusing, and who I was doing it for, I was doing it for everybody else except for myself. So life was confusing. I literally wanted to end life. That's the bottom line. Every single day of my life.
There's so many people, and I only ask this question just listening to the answer that you just provided. There's so many people in today's day and age that go to the extreme from a standpoint they just can't take it. The weight, the mental toll it puts on you. People have harmed themselves. They've attempted to harm themselves. They didn't want to live anymore. Did you ever get to any of those points in your career? Or in your life?
I about 3 times.
Oh,
I thought about it.
wow.
There was one occasion where I talk about in the film. I remember driving my Ferrari down the freeway about 170 miles per hour. And just hoping that something happened, you know. And luckily, there is somebody that's looking out for me, and that's the psychological, great thing about this film is that it's like I love my mother, but I hated her for just abusing me,
Right.
So all those emotions, you're gonna be able to find out what this film is all about when you watch it. It's like no other, man.
Did you ever reconcile things with your mom?
Yes, I did.
Right.
Yes, I did. Just recently.
Really?
Just recently, yeah.
And how were you able to do that? Like, did you just walk up to her one day and just said, I need to talk to you? Or did she approach you? How exactly did that come about?
Well, this is the crazy part, Stephen, is that she's been dead for years.
Yeah.
And so how do I reconcile with somebody that is not here?
Right.
I actually went to the cemetery.
Oh, okay.
And I started talking to her, and the first words that came out of my mouth were, I freaking hate you. And I just started bawling because I started talking about how I feel. I hate you for hitting me, for abusing me, for not loving me, for not telling me you love me. And after I finished with that, it lasted like half an hour. I felt like all the weight off my shoulder, man.
Wow.
And that's when I started to heal. And it takes time. It takes a lot of work. So it's still a healing process.
Did you get to that point on your own? Because being around, like, if you see Oscar walk into a room, you're surrounded by love. Like, the people you have with you, it's clear. Like, in the times that I've been around you, I don't care who it was, I can look at your team, and it's like they got a lot of love for this brother. They got a lot of love for this guy.
Yeah.
Is it that, or was it something that you were able to come to on your own that gave you the courage to confront your emotions and your mental state at that particular moment?
That's a great point, Stephen, that I had to figure it out myself.
Yeah.
Because in my life, I'm the golden boy.
Yes.
I'm the golden goose. So whoever I'm employing, whoever I'm paying, whoever I'm, taking care of, whether it's family, friends, family, whatever, I have to doubt whether they like me or not. As a person, if I was just a Joe Schmo and a person, would they really like me?
Right.
So I'm confronted with all those questions every single time. So all I got to do is just think about myself and put myself first.
When you think about, and you brought up the relationship that you had with your mother, did it make you a better fighter and the great champion that you were? Or is there something you feel you left in the ring that we've never seen, even though you're an 11-time champion, for crying out loud? Yeah. Which one is it? Did we see more or less of what Oscar De La Hoya had to offer to the sport of boxing inside that square circle because of your relationship with your mother?
Yeah, I think you saw what was meant to be seen, meaning I couldn't have done it without the abuse of my mother, with the anger I had carrying inside the ring, but also it allowed me, the abuse allowed me to abuse myself, abuse my body, the drinking, the go partying, out late, this and that. So I was the champion and the driven fighter because of my mom, but I was limited because of what that brought to me, and with the drinking and the partying and this and that. So
let me transition a little bit to inside the ring, because obviously that's what most people know you for, even though today a lot of people that don't know much about boxing still knows about Golden Boy Promotions, big time. I gotta tell you something. One of my favorite moments of your career is when you knocked out Fernando Vargas.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I liked when you kicked Ricardo Mayorga's ass because he was talking about your lady. He deserved his ass kick. Okay, he deserved his ass kicking. Right, I got that. But Fernando Vargas tried to question your heritage, tried to question whether you belonged, and all of that other stuff. And you put him down. You dropped him. I believe it was the 10th round, and then took him out in the 11th when Jim Lampley made one of the great boxing calls that I've ever seen. But that's one of my favorite moments watching you. What was your favorite moment?
You know, it's crazy because it's always going to be the Olympic Games.
Olympics?
Raising up my hand.
Right.
And looking up to the sky, to my mother, to my abuser.
Right.
And not being able to cry or smile, but just feel the pain inside.
But that made it. But that was the best feeling. That was the
best moment of my life.
Because you felt like you conquered demons, you overcame odds that she didn't believe you'd overcome. What was it?
Well, because I felt that her relationship and her anger towards me helped me to build that character inside the ring in order to become champion.
What's the most unfair thing or unfair label you believe you have received in your career, whether it be inside or outside the ring? What is the most unfair label you think you've ever received?
The unfair label, I mean, look, you're always going to have critics and people who are going to be talking about you left and right. I don't know. I'm pretty proud with what I've done. I think people are going to always talk. But there's always the label of being a bad promoter. You know,
really?
Because of a bad decision.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
To me,
I've never heard anybody call you a bad promoter. I've never heard that.
Yeah,
I gotta admit that. Well, I'm serious. I've never heard that.
When bad decisions happen, they always blame the promoter.
That's right. Okay, I got you. The one critique that, and I know you know where I'm going with this, that anybody would give you is you fought Felix Trinidad and you were winning a fight. And then you got, as they would say, you got on your bicycle the last 3 rounds because you thought you had it won. Is that something?
I ran.
Is that something you regret?
Always, till this day. In my fighting career, as a professional, the one regret I have is running those last 3 rounds.
And why? Because of the criticism that people gave you, or because you thought you could possibly take out Trinidad?
I should have just knocked him out.
Wow.
I was listening to my corner, Gil Clancy, the late great Clancy, yelling at me in the corner, "You have to run, you have to box, do not let him hit you, you have the fight won." And that's what I did.
When you think about it, you fought Floyd Money Mayweather. You fought Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao, essentially, that was basically your last fight, if I remember correctly. But, you got up from your stool and you just said, enough's enough. Nobody's ever seen you do that in your career. We know Bernard Hopkins got you with the rib shot, okay, with shot to the ribs. But I'm wondering, when you lost to Pacquiao, what was that experience like for you? Was it him being too much, or was it you just saying, I'm just not what I used to be?
I'll tell you a little story from the second part of the film.
Okay.
Which is amazing. In training camp during the Pacquiao fight, I was getting beat up in training camp by my sparring partners. So right there and then, I knew that it was over. So now I'm just going through the motions of training. I'm losing a lot of weight because I started this new diet, which was a big mistake. I started drinking heavily.
Before the fight?
I never... during camp.
During camp. Got you. Go ahead.
During camp, I started drinking heavily, like the 2 last weeks of training camp, leading up to the fight.
Wow.
And I went into the fight already knowing that I'm going to lose. And Pacquiao just pummeled on me. I was in the corner hoping that he would knock me out. Just wishing that he would land that perfect punch to take me out.
And why
That's
were
how
you?
bad it
And
was.
why were you wishing that?
Because there's nothing I can do. I wasn't myself. I was a shell of myself.
As you reflect on not just your career, but the sport of boxing, first question, what do you believe you've done for the sport of boxing?
You know, I've showed a lot of young kids that in order to be great, you have to fight the very best. You have to fight everyone in front of you. First and foremost, you know, a lot of fighters are thinking it's a business. If you don't care about your legacy, then okay, it is a business.
Mm-hmm.
But I taught fighters that in order to be the very, very best, you have to fight the best in their prime.
Do you feel fighters, far too many of them, are not doing that in this day and age? And if that is the case, who's to blame, the fighters or the promoters?
I think the fighters are to blame now, because a lot of fighters are thinking that they can take control of their business, of their own destiny. There's a promoter for a reason. Mm-hmm. That guides your career. And don't get me wrong, there's been bad promoters, terrible promoters.
Yes.
But then there's promoters who want to guide your career and take you to the very top. I'll give you an example. When I did the Ryan Garcia fight with Tank Davis,
right,
I would have never taken the rehydration clause. I would have never taken less money. But the kid wanted to fight him. He was under pressure by the public in taking this fight. And we all know what happened.
Well, listen, I don't blame the public for Ryan Garcia taking that fight. I blame Ryan Garcia. This dude was on social media, you know, pursuing Gervonta Davis for a long time. And I still believe in Ryan Garcia. I still believe he's young. He's young. He's got tremendous potential. He just came in there over anxious and was just swinging. And if you watch him work out, the level of the speed, the level of accuracy and stuff like that, all of that was out the window. He just looked wild and undisciplined. And Gervonta really, really knows how to fight. So he knew how to bait him. And that's what I got from that. Am I right?
You are correct. You are correct. Gervonta's an amazing, amazing fighter. I love the guy. But you also have to take into consideration that the rehydration clause the next day will get you weak, will take you out of your game plan. Mentally, you're not there.
And that's probably what happened, which is why he went down with a body shot and couldn't get up because the body shot took him. It makes perfect sense. So if the fighters are watching this docuseries, The Golden Boy, July 24th, I apologize, on HBO, and they watch this, what do you want the fighters to actually get and take from watching this docuseries?
I want the fighters to think about themselves first. Because us fighters are people pleasers. Mm-hmm. Anybody, whether it's actors, whether it's entertainers, we want to please the people and we forget about ourselves. Think about you first when making decisions.
Floyd Money Mayweather was a guy that was famous for that. And he believed in making his money. And he was about the business of boxing. And obviously, it's been incredibly beneficial for him. And he has served as a tremendous model for boxers to strive to follow in one regard. On the other hand, even though I believe, particularly when he was in a lightweight division, more so than in a welterweight division later on, when he always had troubles with his hands because his hands would get broke. When you talk about guys fighting the best in the world when they're the best in the world and not waiting, that is something that was a knock against Floyd Money Mayweather at times. Do you believe that was fair? And is that something that has hurt the sport of boxing in your estimation?
No, look, Floyd Mayweather is a person, a fighter that I will respect. His talent is like no other. His defense was incredible. And I promoted 15 of his fights. And all the beef and all the back and forth about us was just because I was not in a good place. You know, Floyd being successful, Floyd winning money, Floyd becoming the money Mayweather after he beat me.
Yeah.
It's like there's a sense of like a little jealousy, you know, and so the beef back and forth and this and that. But I, as a person now, I respect him for his abilities, for his defense, and for what he did for the sport.
How much of a motivation was Bob Arum, Don King, people like that, who were Butch Lewis back in the day? The list goes on and on. Promoters, no doubt, extraordinary promoters in the eyes of many, but obviously had their share of enemies because of how some perceived they did business. What level of motivation did they provide for Golden Boy Promotions?
All the motivation. I did this because of Don King, because of Bob Arum. I remember I fought Felix Trinidad and finding out that Bob Arum made more money than I did. And it was a lot of money.
That's right. So in the end, it comes down to this. Golden Boy Promotions is here to stay. You got a stable of young fighters. I'm looking at the sport of boxing right now, and I'm really interested in your take as it pertains to how we should feel about the sport of boxing, considering the athletes, the tremendous boxers that are existing. We got Crawford going up against Spence soon. We've got Canelo going up against Charlo soon. Ryan Garcia is not going anywhere. I'm looking at the lightweight division with Shakur Stevenson, Gervonta Davis. You got Devin Haney. The list goes on and on. Teofimo Lopez. I actually let me say this to you, Oscar. I want you to. How do you feel about this advice? I ran into Teofimo Lopez and his dad, and I said to his father, to his face, I said, "Listen, I respect you. I respect your love and your belief in your son, but some of the bravado, some of the antagonistic tendencies you throw into the equation, you might want to wait until you get a signature on the dotted line before you start doing all of that. Because some people might avoid your son because of that right hand because the brother got some power. But other people might avoid him because they might say, to hell with him. I can't stand his damn daddy so much, make him wait." Was I wrong in that assessment?
No, you hit it right on the nail's head. I think for a lot of fighters, silence is your best friend. So,
You're absolutely right. The sport of boxing, you're feeling what way about it at this particular moment in time? A good place, a great place, not so great place? How are you feeling?
I think it's in a great place. I strongly feel that the fact that Golden Boy worked with PBC and made the Ryan Garcia fight with Gervonta Davis, I think that opened the doors and made everybody realize, hey, we must make the big fights so we won't continue losing the boxing fans and grow the sport. It was a huge success. And I think that every promoter out there, every fighter out there is just realizing that, hey, it's time to step up. It's time to step up for the sport and for the fans.
I give a lot of credit, believe it or not, to somebody like Dana White simply because he gives folks the fights that they want to see in the UFC, and boxing makes us wait too long. I think that when you have a pugilistic sport that gives you the fights that you want, I think people clamor for that. Like, I want Canelo versus David Benavidez. I want that bad. Very, very bad.
I do too.
I'm of the mindset that Charlo is a little too small. I've been told I'm sleeping on him because he's very athletic. I know he's great, and I know he's gifted. I'm just saying he's been fighting at 160 as opposed to Canelo, who went up to 175, came down to 168, went back up to 175, came down to 168. I'm worried about him being undersized, and I look at stuff like that. But I do think boxing needs to do a better job of giving folks the fights they want to see when they want to see it. As an elite promoter in this game today, how do you feel about that?
No, I feel the exact same way. I believe Dana White, he's been doing an amazing job because he's the only player in the game.
Right.
He has ESPN, the big machine, right behind him, supporting him. He has all the fighters. Boxing is so fragmented. But I just feel that if fighters can speak up a little more and tell their managers, their promoters, look, I want to fight this fighter, and demand them, then there's no reason why these fights shouldn't be made.
By the way, Jamel Charlo and Canelo are fighting at 154, not even 160 from what I'm being told. Ain't that something? So Canelo's coming down even further. That's what one of my producers just told me. I didn't even realize that. But getting back to Dana White for a second, are y'all okay now, Oscar? Because he sounded a little salty a couple of years ago because how you felt about Conor McGregor versus Mayweather. Have you come together? Have y'all made amends? You're two great guys in pugilistic sports. You know what I'm saying? We don't need to be seeing y'all being disliking one another. Are y'all cool with each other?
Look, you know me, Steven. I can get along with everybody.
Yep.
Let's just say that professionally, I respect him for what he's done in the UFC, what he's doing, giving everybody the great fights. But personally, I don't think we can ever get along.
I'll leave it alone. I won't go any further than that. That's y'all business, man. Let me ask you this last question. This two-part series, The Golden Boy, July 24th, HBO, coming up this Monday. What do you want people to walk away saying when all is said and done about Oscar De La Hoya? Writing your own epitaph while you're still alive, what would it be?
He did it his way. Yeah. He did it his way, and he's still alive.
Yeah. Oscar, man, always proud of you. Always love talking to you, my man. I really appreciate you, all the greatness that you've given the world of sports, especially the world of boxing. You know me. You've met me too many times to not know what a fan I am of yours. So I'm happy. I'm looking forward to watching this docuseries. I will be watching it Monday, July 24th. I ain't missing it. Don't even worry about that. I'm going to see it, and I'm encouraging everybody out there to do so as well. You going to be at the Spence-Crawford fight?
I'm going to be there. I can't miss it.
All right.
That could be the fight of the year.
This will be the fight of the year. Oscar De La Hoya, the great Oscar De La Hoya. Appreciate you, my man. You take care of yourself, all right?
Thank you, my man. Appreciate you.
All right, buddy. Take care. The one and only Oscar De La Hoya right here with Stephen A. on the Stephen A. Smith Show. You listen, the Golden Boy. That should say it. I mean, you don't need to say anything else. It's the Golden Boy. That's all you need to know. July 24th, HBO. Don't miss it. Take it easy, my man. Take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets, up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Talk about a great way to get into baseball, which, by the way, is more exciting than ever. Choose a team to win with a simple money line wager or get a little more adventurous, like betting on a certain player who you think is going to be the first home run. That is how you get into every at-bat in the game, ladies and gentlemen. Trust me, I see what sports fans are doing. Betting on baseball is all the rage right now. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you can get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So, sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/SAS to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/SAS. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball.
21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued is now withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, and Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369 in New York. 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia.
Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show, and thanks again to the great Oscar De La Hoya for coming on. I'm looking forward to watching that two-part docuseries tonight. Oscar De La Hoya, the one and only. And boy, can I not wait for that fight this Saturday night. Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr. been waiting for it for years. A whole bunch of boxing dignitaries are expected to be there as well. They should, because This is what it's all about. By the way, make sure to like and follow the Stephen A. Smith Show on YouTube. Click the bell to get notified of all our new content. Before I go to the calls and the questions to end the show, Lionel Messi, superstar soccer player, now a member of the Miami squad in the MLS, showed up, debuted this past weekend, scores the winning goal. Absolutely spectacular on his part. We know this. Stephen A. is not that excited. Here's the reason why. In Europe, soccer is king. And he's the king in the greatest soccer leagues in the world. You know, him, Ronaldo, a few others, no doubt. But the bottom line is he's that dude. The MLS is considered the G League compared to bigger, greater, more accomplished soccer leagues in Europe. So when one of, if not the greatest player in the world, comes to the G League, and he does what he did the other night, I'm not surprised. So I'm not caught. It was nice to see Kim Kardashian there. It was nice to see Serena Williams there. It was nice to see LeBron James there. But I'm not surprised. I'm just not surprised. I mean, who he's playing against, they're not on his level. The league is lucky to have him. Messi's great. But it's the equivalent, if we're being honest, if you want to judge the league. It's like LeBron James going up against a bunch of college players. I just don't expect a different outcome. It's just how I feel about it. I will say this, though. This kid, Kylian Mbappe from France, after missing out on Messi, Saudi team Al Hilal, made a record $332 million bid for Mbappe on Monday, which could see the French striker join Cristiano Ronaldo in the oil-rich kingdom. Paris Saint-Germain confirmed the offer for its players and has given Al Hilal permission to open negotiations directly with Mbappe, but sources told ESPN that Mbappe is not interested in the offer. The 2018 World Cup winner is in a contract standoff with PSG after his decision to not take up the option of a 12-month extension on his deal. Instead, he plans to walk away as a free agent at the end of the upcoming season when he is widely expected to join Real Madrid. Sources tell ESPN that should Mbappe go to Real Madrid on a free transfer next summer, he would potentially get a $100 million plus signing on fee. He would also get another $80 million bonus this September should he opt to stay with PSG. All right. So, I mean, there you have it. You're talking about the money that's offered to him and some incentives and other pieces that could end up being $232 million for 1 year. The deal could exceed $1 billion. I mean, that's something special. There's no doubt about that. That's what they're talking about here. All right? Just wanted y'all to know that. That's astronomical dollars. That could upset the landscape. You start doing that for one individual, the sport is going to go to hell in a handbasket because a lot of people are going to be looking for their piece of the pie and ain't going to get it. So it is what it is, just so y'all know. We got about a few callers to get to, so let's do that now, along with any questions that you may have. You're listening to Stephen A. right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, live on the digital airwaves of YouTube. Yet I Flyer 42, right? Stephen A. Smith, what's your top 5 sport meccas in the world? Well, most of my stuff has been in the United States of America from a sports standpoint. I would tell you, however, Wembley Stadium can't be ignored. I got to throw that in there because I'm just familiar with that, no doubt about it. I've always wanted to see the Roman Coliseum. I've never been there. But in terms of arenas, I have to put Jerry World, AT&T Stadium in Texas. I have to put that up there. The new SoFi Stadium, I got to put that up there. No doubt about that. So I gave you really 3. Wembley, those 2. Because I've been a lot of different places. I'm not going to pick a venue, but I'm going to pick a city. There's nothing like being in Vegas for a big fight. There's nothing like being in Vegas for a big fight. I just got to say that. So I got SoFi Stadium, Wembley Stadium, AT&T Stadium, Vegas, period, T-Mobile Center, MGM Grand, Caesars Palace, whatever. For a big fight, there's nothing like being in Vegas. So that's for, I'm going to say the Garden. It might be rat infested because Penn Station's under it at times and all of this other stuff, but the Garden is the Garden. It's Madison Square Garden. So I'm going to roll with that. Mel B. Lowell writes, will SAS run in 2024? No, I will not, because I don't think I'd win. The only elected office I'd be interested in running for is the presidency, and you've got to shake too many hands, kiss too many babies, and kiss too much you-know-what to really garner the support, the financial support needed to market and advertise and promote and campaign. And I don't think that I would ever be able to generate the money. But I will tell you this, if I could, I'd certainly run against the people that's there now. I'd run against Trump. I'd run against DeSantis. I'd run against Biden. And, hey, I'm not going to lie to you. I've lamented the state of affairs with California, the high taxes and stuff like that. But I got to tell you, when I watched Gavin Newsom debate against Sean Hannity, Gavin Newsom impressed the hell out of me. He impressed the hell out of me. Personally speaking, you got Trump and DeSantis. I'm going to mention my man Christie on the right. Ramaswamy is no joke. He's climbing up the charts. He's a highly intelligent and accomplished individual. He's somebody to be reckoned with. I don't think he should be ignored. But I got to tell you, I would love, y'all going to call me crazy for saying this, I would love to see Gavin Newsom. I think that Gavin Newsom would give anybody a run for their money. When I saw him go against Sean Hannity, and I see some of these videos of him defending Democrats against the GOP, and I see him pointing out some of the things that are not pointed out about the Republican-run states, I'm like, wait a minute now, I didn't know that information. Like, I didn't know that there are red states paying higher taxes overall than the state of California. I didn't know that. So when he makes those cases, I got to tell you something. Gavin Newsom is somebody to be reckoned with. And Andrew Cuomo, that's right, I said it. We know that the scandal-ridden governor is what ran him out of office because of what he was accused of. It ended up amounting to nothing. It was clearly a concerted effort to get him out of office. How true the stories were, I don't know. He denied it. It wasn't proven, but he's out of office. But I'll tell you this. I didn't like the decisions to put folks with COVID in nursing homes and stuff. I get that. But overall, he's very popular. He's very accomplished. He knows his stuff. And a Gavin Newsom or an Andrew Cuomo wouldn't bother me one bit. I'd like to see them going up against some of these Republican folks. That's just me. Jelani Henderson writes, which NFL team will surprise people this year? Surprise people. Well, Detroit's not going to surprise anybody because we're expecting some things from them. The Jets have Aaron Rodgers. It's not going to be a surprise. Jacksonville's already arrived there in the playoffs. Believe it or not, I'm going to say the Pittsburgh Steelers because of Mike Tomlin. I know Cleveland, Baltimore, and Cincinnati are all perceived as being better in the AFC North of the National Football League. I'm not sleeping on my Steelers. Sorry. Let's go to the phones. What's up?
Yeah, how you doing, Steve? Hey, this is Chris Thompson from Long Island, New York.
Okay.
I have a question. Who would you take in their prime? No championships involved. Carmelo Anthony or Paul Pierce? Thank you.
I would take Carmelo Anthony. I would take Carmelo Anthony because I think that he was more aggressive offensively. Paul Pierce is the truth. Paul Pierce is a champion. That's something that Melo never was, primarily because he messed up, because he signed a 5-year deal with the guaranteed dollars, because he didn't want to sign with a 3-year, then opt out so he could be a free agent in 2010 and free to join LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. That's how Chris Bosh ended up there instead of Melo. I think that was a mistake that cost him a championship in his career. Nevertheless, Melo was aggressive. Melo went after it. Melo was trying to drop 30 on you every night. Brother could ball. I would have to say Carmelo Anthony ahead of Paul Pierce. What's up? Next caller.
Good, Stephen A. This is Darius from Springfield, Illinois. I just wanted to see if, ask you, who's better in their prime, Dwayne Wade or Kevin Durant?
Kevin Durant. Love D. Wade, Hall of Famer. Congratulations to him. Major props, 3-time champion. But D. Wade's not 6'11", with a 7'6" wingspan, who could shoot the ball like KD could. And so, as great and phenomenal as Dwayne Wade was, I think that's Kevin Durant, except taller. I'd have to go with Kevin Durant. What's up? Next caller.
Hey, Stephen, this is Mary from Chicago.
Hey.
You're pushing for Damian Lillard to go to Miami. Why is that different from Durant going to the Warriors? Same thing to me. Have a good day.
Well, Mary, with all due respect, that would be because you evidently don't know basketball. Damian Lillard is struggling and doesn't want to be a part of a rebuilding team. Kevin Durant was in a Game 7 of a Western Conference Finals. His team, the Oklahoma City Thunder, was up 3-1. His team lost a 3-1 lead and lost to the Golden State Warriors in that series. And he joined them a month later. Those are two entirely different scenarios. Damian Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers are not knocking on the door of a championship but couldn't close the deal on a 3-1 lead in the Western Conference Finals. If that was the case, Damian Lillard wouldn't even be thinking about leaving Portland. Wouldn't even be thinking about it if they were competitive. But he knows they're not, and they're not going to be, and that's why he wants out. Kevin Durant was knocking on the door of a championship and left to go to a sure thing, which was the Splash Brothers of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson along with Draymond Green. You really need to brush up on your basketball, Mary, before you ask me that question again. Have a nice day. Next caller.
What's up, Steven? This is Miles calling from North Carolina. I'm a little pissed at you because you don't talk about the Charlotte Hornets. And you went to a HBCU in North Carolina, sir. I think the Charlotte Hornets are going to be a top 6 team in the East this year. What's your thoughts on that? Oh, and LaMelo might win the MVP this year as well.
Okay.
Nice talking to you.
You sound ignorant. You just do. So let me brush up on how. First of all, the Charlotte Hornets need to give me a reason to talk about them. I talked about them recently because Michael Jordan sold the team. He still holds a minority stake, but he holds the team. The Charlotte Hornets were last in the conference semifinals, in 2001, 2002. In the last 21 years, the Charlotte Hornets have been to the playoffs 3 times. Charlotte franchise 3 times. And each time they were bounced out in the first round. What the hell are you talking about? What reason was there to talk about the Charlotte Hornets? You don't want me to talk about Bridges. I'm happy he's back. And I know a lot of details about what happened to him. And, you know, he has to own it. Okay? He made some mistakes there, no doubt about it. But there were some mistakes, according to him, that have never been reported. But having said all of that, he still found himself in a precarious situation. What else is there to talk about? LaMelo Ball went down. He's injured. You hope he's coming back healthy. You hope he wants to stay. That's why you drafted Brandon Miller, which was the right pick to make, by the way. What do you want me to talk about? The Charlotte Hornets have not been impressive. It's just that we have such profound respect for Michael Jordan because of all the things that he's done for the game that we don't want to lament the obvious. But they haven't been good. And you know it. Don't call up asking that dumbass question again, please. Thank you. Last caller, what's up?
Hey, Stephen A. This is Evan from Seattle, Washington. And I'm just wondering, with MLB potentially expanding, what 2 cities would you like to see get an expansion team?
What 2 cities would I like to see get an expansion team? Is this in the NBA? Oh, this is baseball. Okay. I love the idea of Vegas getting a team. I think we're over that with gambling being involved in sport. We can't be worried about that anymore. And the Oakland A's certainly should leave. That city, I don't know what the hell is going on, but when you got possums crawling in the walls, damn that. They got to get the hell up out of there. So I certainly would say Las Vegas. I'd say Las Vegas and Tennessee. Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville and Tennessee is undercover. That's an undercover fly town. It really is. It really, really is. I would say Nashville, Tennessee, and Las Vegas. Those are the 2 cities. That's it for today's show. Thank y'all for sticking with me. I had a lot to get into. And again, I'm sorry I had to go that route with DeSantis and Jesse Waters. My point is, why is this even a point of discussion? Why would you even bother bringing up the subject of slavery and having that discussed in our schools where there's some kind of positive to peel from it? Why? Why would you even allow yourself to have that as a topic of discussion? I think it's atrocious. And I take no joy in saying that because I like being independent and I don't like being transparent with my thinking in terms of who I support and who I don't, because I'm literally up for grabs most times. Because there's some things on both sides of the aisle that I don't like. But DeSantis has been so offensive in the last few weeks. I have found him more offensive than Trump. Trump is narcissistic and doesn't give a damn about anybody but himself and appears to be a pathological liar or denier. DeSantis seems to have taken this to another level where he just doesn't mind who the hell he offends. It's a damn shame. It's a damn shame. I respect Jesse Waters, his knowledge, his accomplishments, etc. But you don't try to explain that. You're not black. How about simply sitting there and looking at folks and going like this? I'm not a black person. I can only imagine how they feel on this subject. Let me not touch it because I'm not them. And my people didn't go through what their people endured. And I'm not going through what they've been going through. And just leave it alone. That's really what I'm saying. I hope y'all got that message. I'll be back on Wednesday. Same bad time, same bad channel. Until then, love y'all, appreciate y'all. Make sure to like and follow the Stephen A. Smith Show on YouTube. Click the bell to get notified of all our new content. Again, Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be back, God willing. Until then, peace and love. We'll talk another day.